How's everyone? Nice and rainy out there this morning, which is good. Okay, so let me know when everyone's ready. We're fine? Okay. Well, good morning Queensland, and good morning from Redbank Plains in Ipswich, and it's wonderful to be joined with the school leaders, but also with Lance, who's the Assistant Minister and the member for Bundamba. And the reason we're in Ipswich is because I want to see the vaccination rates increase more in this region, and I'll come to that in a moment. But in some good news today, we've got 2 community cases, and they are linked, which is good news, both in home quarantine, so not at risk. And then we've got 2 new cases from overseas, and once again, they're in hotel quarantine. But we are still concerned about the Gold Coast, and the Deputy Chief Health Officer will talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But the 2 cases we have on the Gold Coast, they are clustering together. So we do need to find out that link, and we do need to make sure that people are getting tested and getting vaccinated. So we need to see those good testing numbers, and we did have 9,474 tests in Queensland over the last 24 hours. So those numbers have come up from yesterday, which is great news. But if you live on the Gold Coast, let me make it very clear, we need to make sure that we do not have community transmission. So we need people to get tested, and if you're asked to home quarantine, we need you to follow the directions from Queensland Health. So we've got schoolies coming up very shortly, so we are concerned, and if you can't socially distance, please wear a mask on the Gold Coast. But the next, like I said, the next 24-48 hours is going to be very critical. But good news today, we don't have any new cases on the Gold Coast, but we need to make sure that we monitor that very closely. Okay, and in fantastic news, 17,509 vaccines were administered by Queensland Health yesterday, and that is the best in about 2 weeks. So that is excellent news, and we're seeing our numbers increase. And this weekend is a great opportunity for you to come and get vaccinated. So that means we are now at 80.55% at least 1 dose, and 68.84% are fully vaccinated. And we should be getting that 70% double dose milestone either on Sunday or Monday. And can I just say to Queenslanders, I will let you know when we reach that milestone, because police have to do a lot of operational things when we reach that milestone. So that information will come from me after we have our morning phone hookups. So that's very good news. So look, I will let Dr. Aiken talk a little bit more about those cases, but I will just say this, that this weekend we're having our school vaccination blitz, so more than 50 schools. So please go onto the website and have a look. Now the reason we're here in Ipswich is because I really want to see these vaccination rates increase in Ipswich. At the moment, Ipswich is just sitting below the state average of 78.5 first dose and 64.5 second dose. But here, for example, around Redbank, it's 66.3% first dose and 50.6 second dose. So it is really important that people come out and get vaccinated. And we have a lot of schools in Ipswich that will be open this weekend for people to come and get their vaccine. There's Bellbird Park, of course, Redbank Plains State High School, where we are at the moment, Bundamba State Secondary College, Ripley Valley State Secondary College, Flagstone, Springfield Central State High School, Ipswich State High School, and Rosewood State High School. So, of course, there's the vaccination clinics as well. So please come out, bring the family, make a day of it. It's really important to protect yourself, your family and your community. So I'll hand over to Dr. Aiken and then the Deputy Commissioner, and then I'm quite sure Lance will want to say a few words as well. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. As you've heard, 4 new cases today. 2 of those are overseas acquired. They're both in hotel quarantine, no risk to the Queensland community. They've both come from Papua New Guinea, one on day 1 and are potentially infectious on the flight, and that's our normal process, we'll go through that, and one on day 5. So again, not infectious on flight or in the community. The other 2 locally acquired cases are both female, one young child under 10, another female in her teens. They're both known contacts of an existing case linked through Gundawindi to the Moree cluster, neither infectious in the community, and we're working through with those people just how we'll look after them in the best possible way for them as well. The most important news, and probably the best news, is despite lots of testing at Gold Coast yesterday, there are no cases at Gold Coast today, and that's really important. We know that we've got 2 cases on the Gold Coast. We're still uncertain at the moment as to how they've acquired COVID. We also know their genomics are identical. We're working through Gold Coast Public Health Unit, and they're doing some amazing work at the moment, looking at all the movements for those 2 people, seeing if there's a common link, see if they've come in contact together, or see if there's that one other link that may be evident that has brought those 2 people together somehow or shared COVID between them. That work's happening rapidly. They're going through and contact tracing the people's movements, making phone calls, getting those people tested, and we should have a lot more of those test results back this afternoon, and some have started to come back last night as well, including the close contacts as far as the family members who are all negative, which again is great news. So really at this stage we're not going to do anything more as far as removing restrictions from Gold Coast community, but we are worried, and that's because schoolies is coming up. So really this is up to the Gold Coast community. We're really keen and we beg you to come forward, get tested, and we need really high testing numbers. And if we can see no more cases come through over the next 7 days, that puts us in an amazing position. So please support the public health units with the contact tracing, the testing, come forward, get tested, get vaccinated, and that's the key step. And we'll just take each day, one day at a time at the moment, till we understand more about these 2 cases and what the potential impact is on the Gold Coast community. Thank you.
Could I just add to the Premier's comments around 70% for, whilst we're really close to that people just need to be a little patient, and once we get the announcement from government that we have reached that, then that will trigger a number of things in the system. So the people that are currently in our system waiting to cross the border, that have applied for border passes, will get advice as to how they should progress that. So if people could just wait for that advice, because if they go too early, they won't have the right border pass to get back in. So really important that people listen to that messaging. And then, of course, once that kicks into gear, the point of truth for any information they need to that is to go to the Queensland Health website. That will be updated. So whilst we're close, and there is some uncertainty around that because it depends on when people get vaccinated. So it will happen in the coming days, and we are ready to go, but you need to wait for that trigger for that to happen. Can I also say that in parallel, for those people that are wondering, well, what does it mean for me because I can't meet the requirements for a border pass for home quarantine, we will maintain our hotel quarantine capability. So people that can otherwise come into the state but can't home quarantine because they can't meet the requirements, or indeed get an exemption from health that can come in because of other reasons, we will still be operating hotel quarantine for the foreseeable future. So they will be able to get back in as well. Thank you. Sure. So at the moment, Lydia, we don't have the new program, so that's what I'm saying. We're on the old one, but we had over 14,000 people in the system at the moment. Oh, at today's figure? Sorry, I don't have that with me. Thank you. Thanks.
Lance?
Thank you, Premier. Well, our message, our plea is clear. Vaccinate, vaccinate, vaccinate. As Queensland and the rest of the nation opens up, vaccination is our safe pathway out of this pandemic, and vaccination is our way back to a normal life. Now, I'd like to thank everybody in our local community that has come out so far to get vaccinated, but we need to do more. Our local vaccination rates are lower than other parts of southeast Queensland, and that means that our local community is at greater risk of the virus. So it's past time to come out and get protected. And this weekend, we have a Super Schools weekend, and you can go into local schools like here at Redbank Plains, Bundamba, Bellbird Park, Ripley Valley, as well as Ipswich Central and Springfield, and get vaccinated. So this is in addition to our Queensland Health clinics, our local GPs, and of course our community pharmacies. It's never been easier to roll up your sleeve to protect yourself, your loved ones, your community, and our open and safe lifestyle here in Queensland. So please, if you haven't been vaccinated to date, but you could be, don't wait, come out and get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thanks. I'd just like to say at the Australian of the Year for Queensland Awards last night, I had families coming up to me saying, Premier, I just want to let you know that we're all vaccinated, which is fantastic. So families are going out and getting the vaccine, and you're making our whole community safe. And we can get through this pandemic if Queenslanders come out and get vaccinated.
Is the Gold Coast out of the woods then, Premier, with no new cases?
No, they're not. That's a good question. They're not out of the woods yet, but we have to monitor this very carefully because we know that community transmission can happen. But what is good news is that we do have large numbers of people who are vaccinated on the Gold Coast, but I want to see more. I really want to see the Gold Coast community come out and get vaccinated and get tested. So I think people just need to be very careful on the Gold Coast. They need to think about if they're going into shopping centres, if they can't socially distance, put your mask on. If you're in crowded areas, put your mask on. But people who are out and about enjoying the outdoor lifestyle, there's no need, of course, to wear a mask. Yeah, of course. Of course it's safe to go there, but people just need to be mindful that we have had 2 unlinked cases on the Gold Coast. That could mean there are more. We have to be careful and we have to show caution. And that means that people know when they feel they should put a mask on.
What would it take to trigger a lockdown on the Gold Coast?
It depends on a whole range of circumstances. Look, we don't even want to entertain that at the moment. So far, so good, but let's just see how we go if there is a rapid escalation of unlinked community transmission. So, look, the public health units, the contact tracers in Queensland do an amazing job. So, once again, my plea is if you are contacted and you're asked to quarantine, please do so because you're protecting the whole community.
Are those 2 cases clustering with any cases from New South Wales or Victoria?
I'm not quite sure about that. Yeah, sure. Yes.
No links to any cases in Queensland at all. There are some cases in Victoria that have close similarities but not identical, and a couple of cases in New South Wales. And we're working with the Commonwealth at the moment through the genomic sequencing sources just to confirm that.
How many tests were done on the Gold Coast yesterday?
I can't give you the exact number, my apologies, but certainly there's been an increase in testing and we've seen larger queues at a number of Gold Coast testing centres, and that's continued to happen this morning.
Will schoolies definitely go ahead? You mentioned it before.
Look, I can't answer that at the moment. I think the best way to make sure schoolies goes ahead is if the Gold Coast community goes out, wears masks, particularly in areas where there are sort of higher population densities and inability to socially distance, and come out and get tested and make sure that we get high testing rates, pick up any potential for underlying community transmission or that linked case, and if we can get through the next week, I'm quite confident that schoolies will be fine.
Premier, we've seen, I guess, big events like the ECA cancelled.
Yeah.
Is schoolies on edge?
Look, we don't want to cancel schoolies. I want schoolies to go ahead, but it's going to depend over what happens over the next 7 days. So, look, Gold Coast, please come out, make sure if you've got any symptoms whatsoever to get tested, and we're monitoring the situation very closely. So it's very important that the testing numbers happen, and like Dr. Aiken said, that people are coming out and getting tested.
When will protection laws for journalists be passed? We've got a journalist this afternoon that could face CCC investigation. Any update on where these laws are?
The Attorney General will have more to say about that next week.
But it would be, I mean, for this journalist this afternoon, it could be too late.
The Attorney General has made some preliminary discussions, comments about that, and she'll have more to say about that next week.
Shield laws, Premier, can
Yeah.
you explain why in the draft laws that will be introduced, the Shield isn't planned to apply to journalists and
I'm not discussing anything that is part of Cabinet deliberations, Lydia, until it is time to do so. It's called Cabinet confidentiality.
But would you think these laws
It's
should
something that I take very seriously, and the other cabinet ministers do as well.
So will Cabinet be discussing potential changes?
Well, I'm not going.
further after
Well, I'm not
the
going to be talking about that. So cabinet will make its deliberations, and then there will be a public discussion.
What's
Are you
your
hopeful
thoughts,
of
Premier, on the laws
introducing laws?
as they stand?
I'm actually not commenting on cabinet discussions. Okay.
How do you think a journalist should be defined?
No, I'm not discussing it, Lydia. Okay.
Sue and Lloyd Clark were announced as
Yes.
Queensland's
Can I just say big congratulations to Sue and Lloyd Clark. Tireless campaigners honoured last night, and we wish them all the very best when they go to Canberra for the announcement of who will be the Australian of the Year.
Why are they the right choice?
Well, there was an independent panel, and I think it was a tough it was a tough job, because every single nominee and every single finalist, I think, is deserved of recognition. They are tireless campaigners, and the foundation that they have set up is doing amazing work, and yeah, I think all Queensland should be proud of them.
And why doesn't Queensland have an emissions reduction target by 2030?
Sorry?
Why doesn't Queensland have an emissions reduction target?
We
by
have a
2030?
50% renewable energy
They're not
target
the
by
same thing.
2030. Sorry?
They're not the same thing though.
Well, we have very clear climate change policies in this state. We are a leader when it comes to rooftop solar. We are a leader when it comes to electric superhighways. I think we were the first state to put in place that. We are a leader when it comes to hydrogen, and we will honour our commitments.
So there's no plan to have an emissions reduction target by 2030 at all? That's not correct?
I'll get back to you on that one.
Premier, you said earlier this week
Yeah.
you're still considering the Doherty modelling from last Friday. Are you broadly supportive of that plan to test students rather than close schools in case when there are outbreaks?
Look, there's a lot in that. We're working through all of those proposals. Some of it is quite complex. It does depend when the approvals come through for the rapid antigen testing, the costs of those rapid antigen testing, but the modelling does make sense in relation to that. Yes, it does. But we just have to make sure that it all stacks up. So our public health units and the chief health officers will go through that.
When do you plan to make a decision about whether or not to extend the vaccine mandate to the entire public service?
Look, there are discussions happening at the moment, but it is very key that we continue to encourage as many people as possible to get their vaccine. And I'm encouraged by the numbers of people going out there and doing the right thing for not just themselves, they want to spend time with their friends and family over Christmas and the holidays, and they want to be able to go to a pub and a cafe and a club, catch up with family and friends. And it's a way of protecting our community. And like I said, we were world leaders when it came to dealing with the pandemic, and we can be world leaders if everyone gets vaccinated and minimises the impact that COVID will have on individuals.
One of the
Concerns about young children.
Just two more, yep.
Sorry, given your concerns about younger children earlier this year,
Yes.
the fact that they can't get the vaccine, do you think there would be any situation where teachers will go into classrooms next year unvaccinated once the borders open and the virus is circulating in the community?
I had a discussion with Minister Grace yesterday. We're encouraged by the number of teachers and the people who work in the school community who are getting vaccinated. We'll monitor that. And as we know that there have been some announcements recently about in the US about approvals for the vaccine, and of course the federal government is also looking at those issues very closely.
It's mandated
And
for
last one?
childcare workers, sorry, obviously there's no
Yeah.
plans to vaccinate under 5, so where are you on?
My understanding is that under 12s have very minor impacts when it comes to COVID, but the issue is they can spread the virus. So we just have to look at all of that data and take that into account. But of course, the more people, the more adults that are vaccinated, the more 12 and above that are vaccinated, that would minimise the impact, because the virus wouldn't be able to spread because so much of the population has been vaccinated.
Going for the Deputy Commissioner.
Yep, last one.
That border drama with Mustafa Palaszczuk down on the Gold Coast,
Drama, yes.
that's one word for it. Why did Queensland Police not arrest the truck driver? Why was he arrested in New South Wales 8 hours later? Did you drop the ball there?
No, look, I can't go into the specific details of that. What we do is that we do our investigations based on offences that happen in this state. And we always have, and we always will, work collaboratively with our interstate partners. So in terms of what happened there, I can't comment on it specifically. I haven't been briefed on it. But I'm satisfied that action's been taken that's appropriate against all parties involved. So I think we got the outcome we needed.
You don't think that truck driver should have been detained by Queensland Police?
We don't necessarily detain people for any border breaches anyway. We either turn them around or we issue them with a penalty infringement notice. And that's an operational decision for the officers on the ground. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.